her paintings in Kingston art galleries, and she has also acted in several theater productions. JC Lodge is a reggae singer, actress, fine artist, and teacher. And today we are truly honored to be journeying with none other than JC Lodge on the road to success. Miss Lodge, welcome, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and being so patient.
That's all right. I understand the business. I'm very happy to be here with you and all the listeners.
Thank you so much. And you're looking fabulous as usual. You're going to have to tell us your beauty secrets and some tips.
Thank you. Um, don't know that I've got any special secrets. I don't think there is secrets. I think it's things that everyone should know about eating well. Having a balanced diet, lots of veggies, and less carbs as you get older, unless you're going to be extremely active, which I need to be a little bit more active. But I do try to keep stretching and things like that to keep some flexibility. And I guess some of it is the genes as well.
Well, pure awesomeness. And thank you for sharing, because the month of March is also IRA FM's Healthy Lifestyle Month. So we're truly appreciative of your personal healthy lifestyle tips. But let's kick things off with your foundation. You were born in the UK to a Jamaican dad and a British mom. How would you describe your childhood growing up in both England and Jamaica?
Yes, it was really quite contrasting, because in England, my dad really was my main parent because my mother left the home when I was 3. So I was with my dad most of the time until he found it difficult, I think, and decided to put me in part-time foster care. So then I was fostered by an English family while he was able to, go to work and all that. So I'd be with him on weekends and holidays. And then when I got to age 10, he told me that he was taking me to Jamaica on a holiday, but he really planned to leave me there with his family, his sister and his sister's children and his parents. And of course, I didn't want to stay because, that was my rock. But yeah, I stayed there and I grew to love my family in Jamaica and stayed in Jamaica for 33 years. So, but yeah, as you said, it's quite a different lifestyle in England. The weather is usually dreary. We have maybe about 3 good months of summer kind of weather. Otherwise it's just kind of cloudy and grey. And as soon as I got off the plane when we landed in Jamaica, I could feel that that heat, that humidity. It felt like a weight on me. And I remember when we were driving to my aunt's home, all the sounds I could hear, the night sounds, delightful. Then so, but it took a while for me to get used to the climate, the foods, and the music. So it was a real change of culture for me.
Right. It was a big culture shock. But then
Yeah.
how were you able to process not having your dad, your rock, as you referred to him earlier? Like, daddy went back, of course, and then you just being with strangers that were really your family. But in that moment, what was that experience like for a young June?
Yes, it was traumatic. I can't, describe it as anything else than that. It really was a trauma for me, and it took a while for me to adapt to it, and get used to my new family. Maybe having had a foster family in England had at least acclimatized me to being around different people at points, So, and there's so much new to discover that made it interesting, at the same
Okay.
time.
Did you
Yeah.
understand why this was happening to you, or why daddy had to do what he needed to do? Because in England, you mentioned you were with a foster family, and then being in Jamaica with your actual family, I suppose it also felt like that because you had to get to know them at
Yes, it did. But all Dad said at the time was, as I said, he said we were going on holiday, but when he was leaving me, he told me, he said, "But you want to stay with your aunt and your cousins, don't you?" I was
Yes.
like, "No." Of course, I would say that then because, as you said, they were still strangers at that point, but I grew to, love them. But also, um, What was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought.
No problem. But what did you admire most about your dad? Like, being around daddy all the time,
Oh,
daddy
sorry. I
just
know what I was going
playing
to say. I
dual
was going to say
roles.
that he had, apart from saying that it was a holiday, he had also explained that he thought my education would be of a higher standard in Jamaica. So
Mm-hmm.
kudos to Jamaica for that, you know. And I do think that I benefited from going to school in Jamaica over going to primary school in England. I do think so. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my life in Jamaica. And sorry, back
Wow,
to the
that's
question you asked. That.
no problem. I was asking you, what did you admire most about your dad? Like, he had to be playing dual roles since you were 3 years old, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
all the way up until you were 10.
Dad was a complex character. He was extremely loving, extremely caring. Even when he left me in Jamaica, he wrote to me regularly. He tried to visit when he could. He always brought goodies and things. In fact, I used to like a chicken that he prepared with a matzo meal, and he actually brought some already fried, wrapped up in paper towel for me in Jamaica. And it was all
Mm-hmm.
soggy, but I appreciate his thoughts. Yeah, so he was a very caring person. He had lots of friends, but there was also a cruel side to that. He had a cruel side, and so his relationship with women often didn't last as long as it could have if he didn't have that side to him as well.
Mm-hmm. No, let's talk about June Carroll Lodge. In school, Jamaican schools. You praise the Jamaican schools for the education that you got, but is there like a significant or a standout moment in your memory that you would say during your school years that has helped to shape the woman you have become?
There's a lot more discipline in Jamaican schools. They don't let
Mm-hmm.
you get away with things. Whereas in England, because I teach part time in England in the primary schools, I can see it's a slightly different time because when I was younger, yes, that was a different period. But I think they've still held on to some of the principles that they have that, you must reward effort. Sometimes it seems to me they're rewarding effort over actual overachievers, or not overachievers, but children that achieve a lot because they're quite talented in a certain way, they're academically inclined. It's almost as
Mm-hmm.
if those children are seen as, okay, they're all right, so we need to focus more on those who are struggling and, reward them and praise them a lot for their efforts. And whilst there's a part of me that agrees with that, I also think that we shouldn't lose the praise that we should still give the children who are achieving and push them to achieve even more. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing I notice as a difference. As I said, and also with behaviour, we have sanctions in school that to me in England don't seem firm enough, whereas in Jamaica, boy, I even got
Mm-hmm.
caned when I was at St.
Oh wow.
Cecilia. I ended up, before I left St. Cecilia Prep, that headmistress was determined she was going to get me and cane me one of these days. She promised me, and she managed to do it in the hands before I
Mm-hmm.
left. And I tell you what it was for.
What? Well, tell me, what was it
Yeah.
for?
It was I was in the classroom. There was a line of children going up to the teacher to get their books checked, and there was a boy I liked in the line, and I was playing
Mm.
footsie with him. That was it.
What?
Serious crime in
Wow.
those days.
Now, did you during those moments, your formative years, did you ever miss your mother or yearned for her nurturing?
Oh, definitely. Yes, I used to ask my dad about her all the time. You must know
Mm-hmm.
where she is. I don't understand. Where is she? Is she dead, alive? And he would just say to me, he used to call me Bugs. That was my pet name. He said, Bugs, if I knew where she was, believe me, I'd tell you. But dad didn't always tell the truth, so I wasn't sure about that. But I just had to accept. And then he had a girlfriend at one point that said to me, he knows, believe me, he knows. And that just caused some, conflict there.
Riff.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know if he really knew at the end of the day. I don't think he actually did. So yeah, I was longing to meet this woman. I just think human beings have a natural desire to know their actual biological parents, even if you've
Mm-hmm.
heard negative things about them.
Did
So
you
yeah,
did
I was
you
determined.
Did you eventually meet your mom, and what was that experience like?
Yes, I did. So after I was a performing artist, a reggae performing artist, one day she was always in England. She's an English woman. So one day she heard a DJ play a record and say, "That's the sound of English-born Jamaican artist J.C. Lodge," and she said she wondered if that could be me. So she called the station and they gave her the information of the recording studio, which was Music Works. And she called up and then they said to me, "Hey, a lady called today and she said she thinks she might be your mother." I thought, what?
What?
I could, at this point, I was 28. So I was like,
Oh,
no,
wow.
I can't believe this. I can't believe it. So you can imagine I was so nervous. She left her number and I called it and yeah, that was so. Well, I thought it was going to be extremely thrilling, and to a certain extent it
Mm-hmm.
was. But then there was a strange occurrence on the call that had me so in a tizzy. She asked me a few sentences in, "Why did they call me June? Am I born in June?" And I'm born in
Oh,
December.
wow.
And I thought to myself, how did she what information did she hold on to about me then? Just the name? She didn't know when she had me even, and that kind of made
Mm-hmm.
me
Mm-hmm.
look at her in a certain light, unfortunately. Um, yeah, so it was a joy to me to finally find her, but it was tempered.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've relocated to England, I've gotten to know her much better, and I can see the type of person she is and accept her for who she is. So she doesn't naturally have a maternal instinct, and some women don't. And the fact that
Mm-hmm.
she didn't raise me, it's just created a different relationship for us. So, but we have good talks and so forth. We've developed
Well, that's
somewhat of a
good.
relationship. Yeah, it's not the typical mother-daughter relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a relationship, and I'm glad for that.
Okay. Now, when exactly along your journey did you realize that you can truly sing?
To this day, I'm not convinced I can truly sing, but I
You
do.
no
I
way.
seriously, I always have my doubts because to me, a proper singer should have a great range and a great, be able to be extremely powerful when they need to be, and then get very gentle when they want to be. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
gentle part, I've got that part
Mm-hmm.
down pat, but I don't have that power, and so it's always made me think that I'm not a real singer. But I know that people appreciate what I deliver, and I do put
Yes.
feelings to what I deliver, and I try to choose tracks that I think my voice will suit, or I write songs that I think suit what I feel and what
Mm-hmm.
I can deliver. So I think, as I said, every stallion has his fire. I think that I do have a place as a singer, but I always envy those people that can really belt
Mm-hmm.
out a
Powerhouse
tune.
singers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, no. Can you remember the first time you went into a recording booth and you recorded a song, and what was that like for you?
I do remember that quite well. Yes. Well, I have to mention a gentleman in my life, Errol O'Neilly, who is my manager, but he's also my partner, my husband. And when I first met Errol, the reason I got into the music business at all was because of him initially,
Mm-hmm.
because we were in our teens and he heard me singing around the place and he thought, "Oh, you have quite a nice voice." "Oh, thank you." And then he said to me, "I write." And he spoke very well. So I thought, well, he's probably quite a good writer, his vocabulary was
Mm-hmm.
great and all of that. And I looked at his poetry and then he had songs as well and I was very impressed. He said to me, could I record some of his songs on an audio cassette? Because that's all we had in those days. This is
Mm-hmm.
back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so he sang these songs to me, but it was quite a painful exercise because he's not a singer. So he'd sing a line and I go, "Okay, do you mean la, 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 la?" He goes, "No, that's not what I sang." Anyway, so we went
Mm-hmm.
through a process and eventually I was able to produce what he was hearing in his head. And these songs were very good quality, I thought. Nice melodies and lovely lyrics. So we put these songs on the set. He beat out the rhythm on a tabletop. I put some harmonies on, which I had a natural ability to do harmonies. I haven't been trained yet. And then we ended up with this cassette of about, I can't remember how many songs, maybe 15 or something. And we started to try and find people in the industry to listen to the cassette. So by this time, we were living on Holborn Road, and the apartment block that we were in had quite a few musicians living there. So we befriended a few of those, and a couple of them were from Chalice. So of course, I can't tell this story without mentioning Allah. He was a major player in, carrying this cassette around to different people in the industry. And sorry. Yes, his real name is Irving Lloyd. I'm being prompted at the side here. His real name is Irving Lloyd. Allah, popularly known as Allah from Chalice. He is a keyboardist in Chalice. So the cassette finally ended up at Joe Gibbs' studio. And this is our first time of even going into the lot of a studio. And it was packed with people, waiting to audition for Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs' right-hand man, his engineer was Errol Thompson, known as E.T. And so he was the person that came out to us one day and find out what we were there for, and we presented the cassette. So he just took it from us. He didn't listen to it then. He just said, all right, we'll give it a listen and, come back next week. But that next week turned into months of visiting that place. And, I guess it's because we had the desire to get somebody to sing one of these songs that we had faith in. That's what prompted us to keep on going back. And so after many, many, many visits, one day, E.T. came out, having listened to the cassette, and also Joe Gibbs had listened to it, and he said to us, "Is who sing on the tape?" And I said, "That's me," And he said, "Yeah, well, we want to record you, And as I said, that wasn't the intention at all. So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll give it a try." So eventually, the song "Someone Loves You, Honey," which had already been popularized by Charlie Pride, was presented to us, and he said, we want to hear you do a reggae version of this. So I went into that studio. I tell you, every part of me was trembling on the eyelash, and I didn't want to see anybody while I was singing, so I had asked for the lights to be turned off, and I was able to deliver this song in the dark. And so that was my first attempt, really, at a proper recording that was released widely. And it was a surprising success. So it was released in September, and by Christmas of 1980, it was number one on all the local charts. It had crossed over into ethnic markets worldwide, and eventually it became a gold and platinum disc record of the year in the Netherlands. And at this point, I've got to mention Willie Lindo, who had a big hand at Joe Gibbs Studios as well. In fact, he was the main producer, and he produced the track and played on it as well.
So here it is, your life basically changed in a jiffy. Like, you went in for something else, you were told to record, dim the lights, and this came out.
Yeah.
Just be mine. You're talking about just how fast the song rose and how all the accomplishments. How were you able to deal with this sudden popularity and all the accomplishments and the doors that were opened for you when this song broke?
Well, Errol was by my side to try and advise me, but we were both green in the business, and I had no intentions of being a singer, so it took me quite by surprise. I wasn't prepared to be a performer, an artist, a singing artist on stage. I'd done acting, and as you mentioned earlier, painting and acting, those were my first loves. I hadn't imagined myself being a performer as a singer. So all of a sudden, I was thrust into the limelight. You've got this hugely successful song. Let's see this person who's responsible for the singing on this song. And I was petrified. Honestly, I was petrified. I would go up on that stage and find the lights and stare into them to blind myself in order to perform, because I didn't want to see the people. And then Errol would be watching and he'd say afterwards, he'd give me the critiques, how can you do that? You got to look at the people, you got to speak to them, you got to move, and it took, and he was always saying, move your head. Anyway, through the years, I think I've improved on that for sure, but it took a while because, as I said, it wasn't an intention, and I thought it was wearing a crown that I wasn't quite ready for.
Oh, wow. Well, you are absolutely ready, but loving the story. What we're going to do, we're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, so much more. If you're just joining us, it is The Road to Success, and we're journeying with none other than JC Lodge.
When me use Island Fresh with aloe vera, it make me skin feel so much smoother. So if you want to feel better and smell fresher, use Island Fresh with aloe vera.
Manufactured by Island Products, 934-0666.
The time is...
It is now 12:59. We are standing by. Listen up, your top draw dollars. Pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, hot pick, and cash pot lunchtime draws up next.
The games begin.
Good afternoon. It's Thursday, March 30, 2023. I'm Sydney, and welcome to this afternoon Supreme Ventures live game draw. Now, before we begin, here's a quick look at our mid-morning winning numbers. Please remember, all live draws are being supervised by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission and observed by the independent auditing firm PwC. Now, let's put some money in your top draw. This afternoon's jackpot is now $400,000. So here are the winning top draw numbers, and good luck. And here we go. First up this afternoon is the number 11. Coming down next, we have 15. Your third winning top draw number is 12. And following, what's it gonna be? It's the number 3. Now for $400,000, you're gonna need 18. And now let's pick a play with our dollars game. I do hope you're feeling lucky. Get those tickets out. Your first winning dollars number coming down is 19. And following, we have the number 23. Next up is 16. And your fourth winning number making its way down is the number 4. Following, what's it going to be? We have 34. And of course, we're halfway there this afternoon with the number 8. Next in line is 24, and coming down slowly but surely is lucky number 1. Next up, we have 35, and what is coming after that? Let's see. It's number 33. Coming down is ball number 7, and we're wrapping things up in our dollars game with a solid 20. Now for some easy winnings with our Pick 2 game. Let's play. And your first winning Pick 2 number this afternoon is 24. The second winning number is 10. So once again, the winning Pick 2 numbers are 24 and the number 10. Now up next, you can play it 3 ways. It's our Pick 3 game. And your first winning Pick 3 number, we have 7. The second winning number coming up is 2. And the third and final number, here it comes, is 7. So once again, the winning Pick 3 numbers are 7, 2, and 7. Now it's time to turn up your winnings, so get ready for Pick 4. And here we go. The first winning Pick 4 number is 6. The second winning number, we have 2. The third winning number, what's it gonna be? It's 6. And the fourth and final number coming up is 9. So once again, the winning Pick 4 numbers are 6, 2, 6, and 9. Now this one is easy for win, so let's heat things up with Hot Pick. And here we go. The balls are bubbling up. Now, this afternoon's winning hot pick number is 1. Congratulations to all hot pick winners. Again, the winning number is 1. And of course, now you can win $280 for every $10 winning cash pot bet. Let's get ready to play our cash pot game for Thursday, March 30, 2023. Now, you live to play it, but can you win it? Get ready to be a big cash pot winner, and let's see what the winning cash pot number will be. And here we go. This afternoon's winning cash pot number is 6. Congratulations to all cash pot winners. Again, the winning number is 6. Now let's mega you winnings, and good luck. And what's it gonna be this afternoon? Here it comes. And a white ball has been selected. And now it's time for the monster winnings. So good luck once more. And what's it gonna be this afternoon? Will it be white or red? Let's see. And the monster ball has been selected. So remember to go mega and monster 6 times per day for cash pot for more chances to win. Again, the winning cash pot number is 6. The lucky mark is strongman. And for mega, a white ball was selected for pick 3, pick 4 cash pot and hot pick. And for monster, the monster ball was selected for cash pot. Now let's take a look at this afternoon's winning numbers. And again, congratulations to everyone who won. And a huge congratulations to our latest Lotto millionaire. The lucky winner won the jackpot of $45 million. The ticket was purchased at Yalla's Farmers Store, so check your tickets now. And do join us again at 3 p.m. for more games you love to play. I'm Sydney. Have a supreme afternoon.
Hope you were a big winner. Play your favorite Supreme Ventures games every day and tune in for our live draw 6 times a day at 8:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8:25 p.m. on this station. Supreme Ventures, making winners every day.
That was the lunchtime top draw dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, hot pick, and cash pot draws. Congratulations to all of today's winners. Join us again at 3 p.m. for another chance to win in hot pick and cash pot special pot draws. So if you're just joining us, we are on the road to success and we're journeying with none other than JC Lodge. So we just heard the story of how, you know, singing for you basically was sort of like an accident, something that wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't your passion. But here it is, 1989, Telephone Love garnered international success. Another song, it crossed over in the R&B and hip hop markets in the United States and earned deals with Warner Brothers owned Tommy Boy label. What were some of the advantages and disadvantages, Miss Lodge, during that time being signed to like a major label?
I think by then I'd realized that this was something any artist would aspire to, you know, to have a company behind you that's got all the connections you need and the finances to spend on you and the products, you know. So it seemed like, oh wow, you know, we're making another huge step here. This is going to be able to, you know, raise my profile and expose me to more people than I have been before. So it seemed like a completely positive thing. The only downside to us was that the label that was interested in me was predominantly a rap label. So we weren't 100% sure on how that would work. But the gentleman that had brought us in, he was the A&R person. He had a plan for us, so we felt confident that he would be able to bring us off. Then unfortunately, he was pulled away to Maverick to work with Madonna, so we lost him. So some of the plan went through the window with him. So then we found ourselves with this rap label that they'd invested in the album. We thought the album was good, but in retrospect, I think the album had a variety of approaches on it. And for America is a type of market that likes to have a very clear idea on what the album is, what the focus is. You know, they want to know, is this a reggae album? Is it an R&B album? Is it hip hop, rap? They want it in a box. And for us, it was a chance to experiment the way that we had always wanted to put our original material on as well. And so the album was a little bit of a mix, you know. And the track that they decided to, what drew their attention to me initially was Telephone Love. And that was, as you said, an urban hit. And but then the music that we produced, some of it was like that, but some wasn't. And the track that they decided to follow it with was an R&B ballad that I wrote, which some people likened to a sort of a Sade vibe. So that was called Home Is Where the Heart Is. And they invested in a video for that, very good video. But we didn't feel that they exploited the video enough. It wasn't exposed as much as it could have been. For the time that we were with them, it went in the Billboard R&B chart up to 45. But by then, we were a bit disgruntled because they had us, we were living in Jamaica, and they were, you know, flying us over to do lots of promotion, which of course they would want to do. But while you're doing promotion, you're not earning. Your time is sewn up, traveling around the various states, doing performances to break into new markets, but you're not being paid for that. You know, so although your trip was covered, your expenses were covered, there's no earnings. So eventually it just was untenable for us. So we asked for a release because things were not progressing fast enough to say that we were earning from it and able to continue on that route. So we asked to be released.
Wow. It seemed to me that along your journey, you've always had your manager, like that support system, who is ultimately your husband now. Having that kind of support, did it help to basically cushion you throughout your career from since you started at a young age to currently?
Yes, he was always there as a protector because there were a lot of wolves out there. There probably still are. You know, so it's always good to have somebody in your corner that can suss out situations quickly and decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. No, we're not working with that person, or, you know, to make sure that the business runs the way it should. Make sure that you're not going on stage to perform and you haven't received your pay, because then once you've done that, you have no bargaining chip, you know. So things like that, he's always been there for me for. And he helped to negotiate that deal with Tommy Boy, which, as I said, could have been a bigger step than it was, but it was still a good step for me. So definitely there are things that I wonder how artists who don't have management, how they manage. And I've recently had a fellow artist share an experience with me, and she doesn't have a manager because her partner was her manager, and he, due to illness, wasn't able to continue in that role. And I can see where things are not running smoothly for her because of not having that representative, you know. So it is very, very key.
And you were one of the most popular female reggae singers of the 80s and 90s. And we hear the stories, especially how it is for women in a male dominating industry. What was the music industry like, specifically, especially for women during that time?
Well, there weren't very many women, and I would say that most of us were seen as songbirds, and that meant that you just sang love songs. That's what was expected from you. You were to only sing love songs, and usually those love songs would be cover songs. That was my experience. And, one thing that we came armed with was original material. And we've always, through my 42-year journey in the industry, we've always been pushing for our original material. Because as I say, yes, you can do cover songs and you can lend an interpretation that's, appreciated and it takes the song in a different direction, and, it's good. But I feel that I've developed as a songwriter with Errol's influence, and with other writers who submitted material to me. It's made me, look at songs in a certain way. And so I think I've developed that skill, and over the years, and this is what I want to project myself as now, not just a singer or a songbird who only sings cover love songs, but I sing originals, and they're not always just romantic love songs. I have other messages that I like to deliver as well. Well, I have delivered as well. And so I really would love that people who are fans of mine to, yes, I appreciate your love of my classic songs, my Someone Loves You Honey and my Telephone Love, More Than Words Can Say, Make It to You. But, you know, there's so much more to me that are hidden away on my albums. I have 14 albums, which can all be found on YouTube. If you type JC Lodge Music in, you will see most of my material there, the 14 albums and many singles that I've done for our own production, as well as other producers that work in Jamaica, America, UK. You know, there's just so much material that I have there that I'm longing to share with everyone, and you know,
No, I
show that.
Yeah, I totally get it. You know, like you want to showcase your originality, and sometimes covers can basically stifle also your creativity, even though you can take a track and make it your own. But I was listening to an interview with you once, and you said that you feel more of a songwriter than a singer. And I thought to myself, oh wow, and you're an awesome singer. But why do you feel this way?
I just think that my songwriting has improved over the years, and I feel very proud of some of the songs that I have created. And I think that if fans could hear them, they would appreciate them. And I just have more confidence in my writing skills. I've always liked writing. Yeah, so it's just that I have more confidence in my writing.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about writing for other entertainers as well? Because songwriting, especially in other parts of the world, it's a big deal. And, you know, persons earn honest bread that way too.
Yes, I am currently working on that. I have submitted songs to a few artists, and waiting for the opportunity, because maybe the time isn't right for them to do that type of record, you know, that type of message. So it's not just you give a song to an artist and they like it and they're going to, you know, work on it right away. So I've got songs waiting in line for their time, you know, and I hope that time will come.
Okay, awesomeness. Now, despite your music career and, you know, the successes that you've had, why was it important for you to obtain a teaching degree?
So before I left Jamaica, I got involved in children's music, and that was inspired by having my own child, and, you know, trying to teach her little things like waiting your turn when you want to speak to someone who's speaking to someone else, and, you know, speaking the truth at all times, and using the magic words, please, excuse me, thank you, and things like that. I started to put those into song for my daughter, because I felt that it would be more appealing to her and stick in her mind more if it had a catchy melody. And I think it was effective on her. And Errol, who's her dad, you know, said, but these songs, you know, they sound like other parents could use them. You know, why don't we focus on a project of children's songs? And that was like, yeah, let's do that. So I came up with several ideas for these songs. They're all original. They're all teaching some kind of a social skill. And we got the great Chris MacDonald. He is a genius keyboardist, arranger. You know, he was a friend of ours, and we also had our own ideas about the arrangements. So working with Chris, we came up with actually 3 albums of children's educational songs done in a fun way, all different styles. So we got to use our creativity. We didn't restrict ourselves to only reggae because we're Jamaican. We included reggae, but we touched on other music forms because children are attracted to all sorts of music. And so we did the project called Sing and Learn with Me, JC, volumes 1, 2, and 3. They were for different age groups from 2 up to about age 10. And we distributed these cassettes around various music stores and pharmacies and so forth, and they were going quite well. And then eventually, somehow the Minister of Education, that was Mr. Birchall Whiteman at the time, heard them, and he approached us and said he was interested in placing them in every basic school in Jamaica.
Wow.
And he did. He went ahead and did that. So I was so proud to have that, you know. And then the other thing was that TVJ then approached us and asked us if we'd like to do a children's television series. And this would incorporate my acting and my drawing skills, illustrations. Errol has always been involved in IT and in writing, as I told you. So he helped with the writing and the videography. You know, he was co-producer along with myself, and we did this project. You know,
Wow.
so it was a 13-part series, and we had 5 sponsors on board. It was going really well. We were showcasing children's talent. You know, it was just up our street, just what we wanted to do, and just seemed to involve all of our skills. Very hard work, though, I tell you. Most nights we didn't sleep more than 4 hours preparing for the next, you know, episode. But it ran for a year. It was getting good response, but our economy was having some issues at the time. And when we tried to get the sponsors back on board, out of the 5, we only got 3, and it just wasn't enough to continue with it. So unfortunately,
Wow, but nonetheless, a fantastic educational initiative. But let me ask you this though: what do you enjoy most about being in the classroom? And are your students aware that you are JC Lodge, the famous singer?
So I love working with children. I really enjoy it. They are just such funny individuals, you know. And it's always rewarding to be able to teach a child something and see them actually using what you've taught them. And when I was in England, when we first went to England, we imagined that, I mean, the UK was at one point a huge platform for reggae. So when we were going there in 2001, we thought that we'd be going to Europe, and I would have, you know, regular gigs on this reggae circuit in the UK. But we had a rude awakening, because by that point, reggae had peaked already and was on the decline in terms of airplay. So that created a huge change, because reggae was no longer being played on mainstream radio. People were not hearing regularly current material, you know, records shops started to close down. The biggest distribution company and also production company was Jetstar. They closed down. And so reggae kind of went into more of a decline. And at the moment, reggae is more seen as an ethnic music. It's more seen as an underground music. And if you mention reggae to an average person in England, they'll say, "Oh, Bob Marley. Oh yeah, I like a bit of reggae." You know, and that's basically what they think of when they think of reggae. It's something that when you go on holiday, you have a bit of reggae. But not to say that there aren't still Jamaican acts that come through London and do performances. Yes, but it's just become more difficult. So, but you were asking me about teaching, what I liked about teaching children and being reminded about that. So I've gone off on a tangent.
I really like where the conversation is going, and we're going to get back to your classroom, but you are living in England, and, you know, you are from the place. So giving us this information that a lot of our industry players are perhaps not aware of, and this decline started a while back. What do you think contributed to such a drastic decline of the reggae genre to the point where record shops had to be closed?
Yes, I've been in, discussions about this before, and I don't know that there's any one clear answer, but there are different things that are discussed and, imagined that maybe it's this, or maybe it's that, or maybe it's a combination. But things that are mentioned are when Jamaican artists started, lyrics that were homophobic. That's one of the things that's raised. because the powers that be, a lot of the powers that be, are gay, or or they may not be gay, but they're definitely not homophobic, so they don't support lyrics that deal with that kind of content. So that's one thing that's raised. Another thing that's raised is Jamaican artists' indiscipline a lot of the time, that we don't have good timekeeping, we don't have signed contracts, and things like that. So the business side can be a letdown. I really don't know what the full answer to it is, because
but there's a number of things.
Yes, I think a number of issues, and but the fact that we have lost that mainstream support, where you can't just be turning on your radio now and hearing the latest reggae tunes being produced, that's had a huge impact, on the industry in the UK. So, but I'm still hoping that things can make a turnaround, and that if we keep on producing great stuff, and there are lots of young artists coming up who, in my opinion, are creating great, strong songs, great arrangements, and they have their package together, they have their look, they have their management, they know what their goals are. I'm hoping that these people are going to break through, because the industry is always looking more to the youngsters, aren't they? That's the nature of the business. I mean, I still hope to, have a place there, and some of the mature artists, we're still holding on for our place. But yeah, the younger ones coming up, I would be more likely who record companies, major companies would be looking at. And I really hope that, more of them make that breakthrough, get that connection, that support that they need to launch themselves to the world, because to me, they have the ingredients.
The potential. Absolutely. Yeah. And ultimately change the trajectory of the genre. But you were in the process of telling us, if your students are aware that you are JC Lodge.
So I'll tell you that because I teach in primary, and the range is from 3 up to age 10 in primary. These children, it's a completely different generation of children, and most of them that I teach are Indian or Caucasian. You have Black children amongst them, but it's mostly Indians and Caucasians in the areas that I'm teaching in. So their knowledge of reggae is like almost zero.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they don't, because their families wouldn't be playing reggae, So that would have to be introduced to them. And if you did ask them anything about reggae, they might be able to mention Bob Marley. That's about it. Yeah. So there's a lot to be done in that area,
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but saying that, when I teach the older children who are a little bit more inquisitive of you in a personal way, I do sing to them in class when I'm teaching. Sometimes I break out and just put something into a melody, and they go, "Oh, you're a good singer, miss. You're a good singer." So, thank you. And then and I might say, "I am a singer." They go, "Are you? Are you rich?" That's always the first question they go. I go, "Yeah, that's why I'm teaching at your school." Anyway, but then they will investigate, and they'll question people, and they might even get somebody telling them my singing name. And I've had a few of them say, "I looked you up on YouTube, miss. Wicked."
That is really awesome. But speaking about singing, your daughter, Gia, she has followed your musical footsteps. What advice have you given her as it relates to the music industry and, just kind of providing that guidance for her?
Well, Errol being my manager, he's the one that's more giving her the advice. I say things, but I think I'm more seen as Ma. But Dad, she knows Dad has got he's got the real knowledge and experience of that. And so he has advised her all through her growing years, because she left Jamaica at age 7. She was already showing talent in singing and acting and things like that. So when we went to England, Errol made sure that she joined a school called Sylvia Young, where they teach theatre, dance, music, so she had that every Saturday. And so she develops that confidence. She's she's had opportunities to learn several instruments, and she's got the skill. She hasn't got the patience. So she's very good at it. She'll pick it up and you'll hear her in no time doing things that sound impressive, but she doesn't stick with it. So I realized that that's not her line. She's never going to be a musician playing an instrument, but her instrument is her voice. She has an amazing voice, and I know every parent is going to say that of their child if they think they've got some talent. But other people have said this as well. And she's a very good actress, and she's a very good songwriter. And because that's dear to our hearts, we have encouraged her with that songwriting. And I've been blown away by some of the songs she's written, and I'm going to record some of them because Gia, that's her name, she is the type of person that if she wrote something 5 years ago and you say, Gia, what about that song? It was so good. Why don't you pursue that? She's, oh, Ma, but I sing differently now. And that's where my head was at that point. That's not me anymore. And she just discards these songs. But to me, my songs are like my children, you know. I really defend them. And
a connection.
I defy anybody to tell me that the songs I've written are no good. I would defy them. I defend my songs to the death, you know, because I don't waste time writing rubbish, you know. And I recognize that she has this skill just as her father did. And I think that I've developed a fairly good songwriting technique. So this is something that we would love for her to pursue. But at the moment, she's a full-time cabaret performer. And she sometimes does 2 gigs a night. She's quite popular. She does 2 gigs a night, and that's what she's doing at the moment. So.
Okay, great. No, singing, songwriting, teaching. Are you still painting, and where can we see your artwork?
Painting. Now that's the thing. Having moved to England, you know, I don't knock England in every way. England has its pros and cons, and we know why we went there, you know, for personal reasons. But in terms of inspiring me as an artist, I can't say that England does that for me. My soul is in Jamaica. And so when I was living here, the scenery around me every day always made me feel to paint something, you know? And the people as well. They used to paint like little boys at the beach and things like that. It's just something magical about it. So England, there's something about, they have beautiful gardens and parks. And yes, I gasp sometimes at at nature in England as well as in Jamaica. But it's that their nature is different from the nature here. It's different flora, and it just doesn't reach me in the same way. So I don't find that since I've been living in England that I have felt inspired to paint in that way. I use my art in school for the children, and they're very impressed with whatever I come up with. And I also use it to create jewelry and my costumes and things like that. So I use my art in a different way. And I haven't written off painting. I think if I ever came to spend some good time in Jamaica, I would get back into it, definitely.
Do you have aspirations to hit the big screen, acting?
I would. If somebody offered me a role, I would consider it, but I'm not seeking a role as such. I am focused more on my songwriting and, you know, sort of raising my profile again. Because although recently I have a #1 song in South Florida. It's called Love Uprising. It's on the transfusion rhythm, which was created by Wayne Almond of Chalice. So I keep on getting this link with Chalice, you know. And it was produced by Wayne Almond and another person, Orville Marshall, and their company is called My Emma Productions. That's their label. So that song is #1. Well, when we left London, it was #1 still, and it had been for 4 weeks in South Florida. And then my song prior to that was called Over, which was produced for Lion King Music. Lion Face was the producer, and that went to #1 in New York. So little by little, I feel like things are happening for me again, and this is what we're working on, trying to raise my profile. But in Jamaica, I feel that there's a lot of work to be done because some people have forgotten me. I've been noticing on this trip, we're only here for a week, but I've been noticing that people say, "You look like JC Lodge." They're my age group, you know, and older. So I realized that, that's part of my issue, that of course I need those fans, those are my foundation fans. But in order to stay current, I'm going to need to appeal to the younger people as well, because they'll be around a bit longer, you know, to support me and go to the shows. Because sometimes you find that the older generation don't go to the shows as much, and that's an artist's mainstay, I would say, right now is live performance. You need the recordings, yes, because if people are hearing them, then you can include them in your repertoire and extend your repertoire so that you can be like a Beres Hammond and probably do a stage show for 3 hours and people would great over every song he sings because they recognize them. Whereas an artist like myself is more known for a handful of songs, even though I've got 14 albums. It's directing people to my music in a way that a male artist is so recognized, for nearly everything that comes out of their mouths. They somehow they get that exposure. But I think it's harder in some ways for women to have to make that same impact. I mean, if you ask most people, they just think I've got 2 songs. So that proves what I'm saying,
I totally understand. And, you seem to be on top of everything in terms of, what needs to be done and paying attention and coming to the realization that, what you need to do. But in the same breath, though, you do so much, you're still doing your songwriting, you're teaching, you stay consistently active. How will you find that balance to ensure that all these different areas are properly serviced?
So that's where Errol comes in for a lot of it. Unfortunately, that makes him very overworked. And we're looking at, beginning to think about, employing other people to help us with that, because it is some of it just getting your music online and sending it out to people. That can be a full-time job in itself, to make sure you're making all the right connections to let people be aware of your products. Just like any other product, it has to be well marketed. There's no point coming up with something new and people don't know about it. It's just not going to go anywhere. And this is part of our issue. So that has to be worked on. So as I said, Errol will be busy, very busy, and we'll have to consider taking other people on to assist us with that. The more things pick up, because it's almost like I'm trying to have a rebirth at this point, because some people have forgotten about me. And we realize that. And Jamaica is really the foundation of reggae. I need to raise my profile here again and let people know that we're not dead. And I'm still able, here to give you the...
No, looking back at your journey, JC, is there anything you would have done differently?
I wish when I was younger, when I was living with my cousins and my aunt, there was an old piano in the house that, quite a few of the keys on it didn't work. But my female cousin had piano lessons. And so she was able to teach me some of the notes that were in the songbooks. And so I'd look at these notes and, painstakingly, not with the right fingers or anything, bang out songs that I could see in the books and learn songs that way. There were songs I learned the melodies of by playing the notes. So my grandmother, I remember her saying, I can see you really like that, I can send you for some lessons, but it never happened. And so I regret that as a child, I didn't learn an instrument. I think I could have taken it on then. Later on in life, Errol and myself, both, when we started trying to impart our ideas to musicians that we were working with, when we were creating our songs in the studio, from scratch, I'd sing the melody, but a melody could have different chords underneath it. And you have to be able to say what chord you're looking for at this point. So I'd be hearing it in my head and I'd be saying, okay, so I know it's got this note and it's a, and I'd be doing that. And at that point, it became frustrating at points. And I'd say to Errol, we need to learn an instrument, or we need to be able to, name chords and say, play this chord and then that goes to that chord and then that chord. So we tried to take on guitar lessons. But you know what? I know there's the argument that you're never too old to learn, but I don't know if I buy that fully.
Right. You wish you did then. Totally understand.
It's just too
We're
It was
basically
too
strapped.
difficult. So,
Go
go on,
ahead.
you go ahead.
I was saying we're basically strapped for time now, so I have two questions I want to squeeze in before
Okay.
we halt. What's next for JC Lodge? I know you have an event coming up for Jamaica, which is big because it marks your first performance in many years. So
It's a, I'm
when
very
is
excited
that, and what
about.
else? Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm very excited about that event. It's a Mother's Day event. It's called Red Rose with Gregory, and I know they've been having it annually, but I'm very proud to be a part of it this year. It's on May 14th, and it will have the Manhattans, Denise Williams, Etana, Robert Minot, Errol Dunkley, Mary Isaacs, Hezron, and Caution, as well as myself. So I'm really looking forward to that event, and I'll be providing my fans with all the songs that they've loved before over the years, and I'll be throwing in a few of my new hits and hoping
As
that they will
well.
appreciate it as well.
Awesome. And finally, in celebration of Women's History Month, what advice would you give to aspiring female singers who are on their road to success, their journey?
Do you mean Jamaican singers?
Jamaican singers, yes.
Yeah. I would say it's not an easy road by any means to focus on reggae alone, because reggae is beloved all over the world when people get to hear it, but it is a bit of a fight to be heard. You know, it's so they have to be prepared to be strong and to stick with it. You need a lot of stick-to-itiveness to keep going, you know. But if you really love it, you have to have the passion. It can't just be done for money. If you're in it for the money, you're gonna drop out early, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have that passion and really just love music, love reggae, and just want to make your mark.
Wow, JC Lodge, thank you so much. This was absolutely awesome. And I truly appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to take us on your awesome journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kashima, and thank you for allowing me to go into such detail, giving me so much time. Thank you, I appreciate that.
We appreciate it too. Thank you so much. And the messages are coming in for you. This one says JC Lodge is one of my favorite artists of all time. Just love this woman's voice. Good interview, Kishis Jazznet in Hampstead, Sentan. Saying lots of love to you, JC. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was JC Lodge taking us on her